Hello students, I would like to explain to you how to write HTTP request and response messages as discussed here in the Task-2 mass reading materials. Now when you open this file, you will find in the top of the file the definition of the HTTP protocol as we agreed, which is the foundation protocol of the web and the information exchange between a client and server using this protocol HTTP. Then you will find comparison between the old version of HTTP protocol 1.0 and the newest version of HTTP protocol 1.1. What I want to explain to you is how to write HTTP request message and how this is of course generated by the client side, and then how the server will respond to the client using the HTTP response message. Now, for example, as we can find here in this example, if you type this web address in the browser to request to open Sohar University website, so for sure you will type www.su.edu.om, and this is the home page of Sohar University website. Now, when you hit enter, the client will generate what's called HTTP request message. So how we write a request message using this web address. Now let me take this web address in a new document and to show you how the message will be generated by the client side. Now in case if we have this web address that requested from the client, the request message will be started with the method get, then the path requested by the client, which is always started with /, then I will type index.php. This is always the path that requested by the client is coming after the domain name and started with /. Now the client should inform the server which version of a protocol is using. The protocol is HTTP 1.1. Now, one more thing, with HTTP 1.1, host header must be used by the client side. So it will write host, and the host, that means is requesting this domain. So we will write here www.su.edu.om. This is what's called the HTTP request message will be generated by the client side from a client to the server. So here index, not okay. So this is index.php using HTTP 1.1. Now let's take another example. Assume that I'm trying to access to Google website. So for sure I will open the browser and I will type sorry, but let me just okay. So I will type www.google.com and always it's requested index.html, which is the home page of Google. Just let me try to make it this one without header, and okay. So this is the website that I'm requesting to access. Now what the client will do to generate a request message will type get, then the path, which is index.html using HTTP 1.1. This is the path always. Now as we said, with HTTP 1.1, another header must be there, which is host, the host that we are trying to access, which is www.google.com. Now these are the request message that will be generated by the client and submitted to the server side. Now let us talk about the response message. When we back to the mass reading material, we will find HTTP response message. And here the details how the response message will be generated by the server and submitted to the client. let us back to the same example. Now the response message, let me write here response message. Now for the first example, which is Sohar University website, when the server received this request from the client, should respond to the client, because this is the task of the server, respond to the client. How the response message will be generated by the server? Always is a start with the HTTP protocol, HTTP 1.1. Then if everything is fine with the page, is available, it has no authentication like username, doesn't require username or password, then the server will use this code 200 and explanation, which is okay. That means the page is available. We'll add some headers into the message. One of the headers is called content type. So we'll inform the client what's the content of this message. The content is text and its type is HTML. There is another header will be there. It's called content length. How many characters inside this message? Now this number of course will be calculated by the server, but for us we will write any number, for example 2, 3, 4, 5. In addition to that, there is HTML code of the page requested by the client. Always the code is starting with HTML and the whole code is there and ended with HTML. So this is the response message from the server side to this client who has requested to access to the home page of Sohar University website. Now what about this example that we requested to access to the Google page? It will be the same concept. So here we have response message from server to client. Always the response messages start with HTTP 1.1 and will be 200, the code 200, okay, because everything is fine with the page. Then we have content type. That means what's the content of this response message? As we said, is text, and here we have HTML. The content length, so we will write any number just as assumption. Then it's ended with HTML code, and here the body of the HTML code and the end of HTML code. Now why the body it has HTML code? Because here the content type of this message is HTML. Now let us take another example, but this time I'm requesting page, for example www.mywebsite, and here we have for example about us.html. Now assume that here website for example com. Now assume that this page it has one image, including one image. The name of the image, for example, is photo1.jpg, and this one is available inside the folder. It's called image. Now of course all of these details will be given to you in the equation. So here in this case, how will be the communication between client and server to receive from the server all the details of the page, which is about us.html. Now the first request message, let's write here first request, this one from client to server. It will be get, as we agreed, and the path is about us.html using HTTP 1.1. 1, and host, which is website.com. Now, this message will be sent from client to server. Then let us talk about the first response message. This one from server to client. It will be HTTP 1.1 200 OK, and again the headers here used by in the response message content type, which is text, and the type of the text is HTML code. The content length will be, for example, any number, and as we agree there is HTML code there, the body of the HTML code and the end of the HTML code. Now this message will be sent from server to client. The client will check the HTML code, will find this page contains one image, which is photo 1.jpg, and of course the client doesn't have this photo. Because of that, should send another request to the server asking the server to provide the client with this image. Because of that, for this scenario, there is another request message from client to server. So the second request message, again from client to server. Now the message will be get, but now this time is requesting not the page about us, is requesting the image which is available inside this folder image, and its name is photo1.jpg. is requesting this image from the server using HTTP 1.1 using the same header host, and of course the image is available on the same domain or on the same server, which is www.mywebsite.com. Now this message will be sent to the server, so the server should respond using second response message. Will say HTTP 1.1 now 200 OK. The content type this time is not text, this time is image, and the type of image is JPG, and of course there is always content length, and write any number. And here in this time there is no HTML code, there is what? There is image, and this image will be sent to the client. The client will display it to the user using the browser. So imagine that if I have page contains 10 images, that means in this case how many messages will be transferred between client and server? That means in addition to the first request message, then it will be 10 request message, so the total will be 11 message to request the page and the 10 images, and at the same time the server will respond to all of these request messages. So 11 requests and 11 response. Now there are other examples in the mass reading material that you need to check it out in case if the page require username and password is secured. So how the scenario between client and server will be there. And another example in case if the server requests from the client to use cookies, so how the cookies will be included inside the request and response message. So we have another example here. I need from you to check it out, and I hope is clear to you now how the HTTP request message and HTTP response message will be generated by client or server. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.